Good morning, Flosstube. This is Janine McGowan, and this is a channel about cross-stitch and life and smoke and puppies, so all of the things together. It's lovely to be with you again. It's been a month since the last Flosstube, and it's been an eventful month, I think pretty much anywhere in the world you were, although certainly here on the West Coast it was a very smoky month, and we're really enjoying, although not so much this morning, the privilege of clean air lately. That's been a delight after so many weeks of just so much smoke. Although we were very fortunate, we didn't have to evacuate or have fires close to us, and I know for so many people that was not the case. They had real physical danger in addition to the smoke problems. So I'm so glad to know that so many are still safe, and I'm really enjoying just the clean air, the chance to see the mountains, the chance to breathe. I may never approach the hint of wood smoke as a sign of fall quite the same way, I think, after this fire season. But it's a small price to pay, I suppose, for getting through it. Hopefully. Now, on the positive side, it is in fact fall, and I'm very excited because that's my favorite season. I love it. I love almost everything about it except for the fires. I love that the weather is getting cooler. I love that it makes me want to cook things that simmer or bake for hours and make the house smell wonderful and make everyone hungry. I really like fall, so I am very, very excited. And we do have a good fall season here in Nevada, even though we don't have significant foliage the way, for example, places on the East Coast or places with a lot of deciduous trees would have. It's still a beautiful time of year for us, and really, really enjoy it. If you have something that you like about fall, I'd love to hear it. It's been a month since I've had comments from people, and I've really enjoyed the chance to connect. So if there's something particularly for your fall season that you enjoy, or really for any season, feel free to share. I'd love to know what's bringing you joy today. Now, first things on the list, stitching in action. I actually have 4 to report this week, this time. The first one is Night Walk Down by Kelly K. I'm going to put that up over here, other side. And she stitched it on 28 count heather fabric from Fiber on a Whim. She left off the border, which I think is looking really good, and she stitched that as a gift for her sister. So I think she did a great job on that one. The next one is Sleeping Bee. This was stitched by Dora on 32 count, and she framed it in a square frame but with a round green suede mat to mimic the look a little bit of the round design. So another great finish by Dora. Thank you for sharing. Then we have Color of Winter by Jamie Rowe. Very excited to see that one. Thank you, Jamie. I love it. And for the last one, I have a Night Walk Down stitched by Laura R. And she's a girl after my own heart, going completely off book to choose all of her own colors. So I think she did a lovely job. Thank you very much, Laura, for sharing. Those are all up on the website. And as always, if you have a finish of a blue flower design that you'd like to share, there's a form on the website where you can submit that so everyone can admire all of your good hard work. So I look forward to seeing more of those from all of you. What I'm stitching and plans. I actually have 2 finishes, not fully finished, but finished, although I don't have them with me. I finished 2 pieces and I sent them off to be framed, so perhaps in another month, 2 or 3 more floss tubes, those will be back and I'll be able to show you the final things. I do have photos, so I'm putting those in here so you can see. The first one is the Casson sampler, or more properly Maria Casson 1822 by Lucy Beam Love and Stitches. As those of you who've been watching know, I made some changes on this one. I had started it right before our Greyhound passed, and so I made some changes to memorialize her. I think one of the biggest changes that I made, obviously apart from adding greyhounds to the design, was the verse, and I changed it to something that Lord Byron had actually put on the tombstone of one of his dogs, just celebrating how much we really appreciate the pets who share our lives and how much they bring to us. So that one will be back framed hopefully very soon. We'll show a good proper look at it, but for now there's the photo. The other finish that I had was Auspicious Hope by Lottie Da. This one I had started a while ago on chalkboard linen from XG Designs, which was a really lovely linen to work with. And I love the chalkboard color because it's not so dark that it's hard to see. So it was also very easy to stitch with, but it really let the colors pop out the way that I was hoping for. And I pulled just threads from Stash. The main thread in the border is, I believe, Harvest Grape from Gloriana. And then I just pulled additional threads to go with that. So that one came out well. I look forward to having it back and showing it fully finished. So that's what I have finished. I have 2 whips that I'm going to show today. The first one is Halloween at Hollyberry Farm. This is from Stacy Nash Primitives, and I've stitched the Christmas at Hollyberry Farm already. I have the whole series, but I just pulled out Halloween because it's fall and why not? And I'm just using my own colors. The main color that I'm using instead of what she had called for, whoops, there we go, in the dark blue, I switched for this great thread from Silken Colors called Pumpkins and Black Cats, which is, as always, a little bit hard to see, but it's a lovely purpley blue-gray with little bits of pale orange that pop up every so now and often. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm stitching it on a piece of fabric from Kitten Stitcher, and it's called Rusty Nail, and I love it. I think it's very, very appropriate for Halloween. I love the way the colors in the border are all showing up. I don't know if bringing it closer makes it easier or harder to see the colors, but we'll give it a go. You can see it has, obviously, the big rusty nail splotches, but it also has these lovely sections of steely blue-gray, which I really have been enjoying. I'm not usually one for the very, very mottled or grungy fabric, but this one really called to me for some reason. And I've got a whole other section, part of which won't be used, and I think I'll have enough to do another design on that. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm enjoying Halloween stitching. The next whip that I want to show is called the Betrothed. This is a Gigi R design. It's a little bit hard to see from the photo, but it's a lovely, lovely pattern. It's humongous. So I've started using the silken version that the attic sent me because I had seen Jean Lee stitching on it and it was so beautiful. I've gone with mostly that, but I have had to change some colors, primarily because I didn't have a piece of fabric big enough in the same color palette as the original, which was more sort of yellow tan. And so I ended up with a gray color, and 1 or 2 of the colors had to be changed to show up better against that. I'm really enjoying the way it's stitching up, although I've accomplished not a ton, but it's nice. You get that big flower basket. That was a lot of fun. The color that I'm not certain about is this color here, and it's called Foo Flamingo, which is just fabulous. But I don't love the way it's popping out in that particular element, and it's used a lot. So I had pulled a couple of other options that I might look at. Oops, I dropped one of them on the floor. There we go. So if I get some time to stitch on that today, I'm going to look at some of those. Obviously, some are very different from what it started with. One's more similar, and I don't know. I may use the more similar one, or I may mix it up and use the more similar in some parts and the wildly different in others. So see where that goes. I never know. See what happens. That is what I'm working on. And yeah, it's really nice to properly stitch, so I'm enjoying that. Next up is the Stash Spotlight. The first thing I have to show is that I got some new Needleminders. Not something I do very often, but I got these from Quail Valley Creations on Etsy, and I love them. I really prefer the flat wooden, you can see perfectly flat, wooden Needleminders to the enameled ones. I think the enameled ones are lovely, but they don't, my needle doesn't sit as flat on it, and I tend to catch it. I think maybe because I stitch one-handed, you know, put the thread in, move my hand around to the back, pull it through, that it maybe makes it a little bit more wobbly or jerky on the thread. But for whatever reason, I prefer the flat wooden Needleminders, and these are so much fun. I love the flower. I love the Halloween Witch and Santa. I've got Jane Austen and a beautiful owl. I think they're just great. Now, they do come right now with these little things on the back. It's hard to see. She put little designs, or I'm sorry, little embellishments on the back. I actually don't prefer that because, again, my needle catches and my thread catches. And so she actually sent me just an extra pack of backs so that I could replace those. But if you like the embellishments and it doesn't get in the way of your needle, I would imagine she'd do it either way for you. She was very helpful. Really enjoyed working with her. And I'll put that information on the website or on the notes below. Now, the other stash items I have to highlight. The first is from the fabulous Stephanie, Lindy Stitches, and I'm sure many of you have seen this because it's awesome. This is a beautiful, beautiful bat. And then it says, it's a quote from Dracula, "I love the shade and the shadow and would be alone with my thoughts when I may." And frankly, for an introvert who can't be in the sun, I'm not sure there could be anything more perfect, but added to that, it has a bat on it. And so I am so excited to stitch this. I love bats. I actually first really encountered them when I lived in Portland, and they have a great bat habitat, or had at the time, great bat habitat at the zoo. And so you can go into a dark corridor and see into the habitat and just all these different kinds of bats chatting and eating and playing and grooming and doing all of the things that are so fascinating to watch. So I really love those. I will probably switch up the colors a little bit, and I may actually try that turkey stitch from the Hands Across the Sea sampler. I may poach those directions and see if I can maybe do the face or the head in some of that to make it a little bit fluffy. I thought that'd be a little easy way to practice and make it look maybe more like a flying fox. I also think I will have enough left over from the Halloween at Hollyberry Farm to use that extra piece of super grungy Halloween fabric for the bat. So I guess watch this space. We'll see if I get very far on that before the urge to stitch Christmas overwhelms me. The other piece of new stash I got is a chart from Needlework Press that I believe came out at Market, this past Market this year, and I love it. I loved it when I saw it, and I meant to pick it up and just hadn't done it yet. It is a big chart. It's, let's see here, 224 wide and 231 high, but it's very open, and I think I might do something fun with the border, maybe use a very variegated thread either on the flowers or on the leaves and stems and really mix that up. But I think it's lovely. I'm very excited to stitch this one, so that will be on the ever-growing list of things to do. Next up, the world around. I wanted to thank Eleanor K for answering my question from, I believe, the last or the next to last Flosstube about that flower in the garden. It is pronounced Gara. Her partner apparently knows about flowers, so she gave me the correct pronunciation, and I will have to try and practice in my head to pronounce it Gara and not Gaura. But the plant itself is still going strong. It's still covered in flowers. I see bees on it every single day, so I might get a few more of those and pop them into the garden since it seems to be relatively good in this climate. And yeah, the bees like it. What more could you ask for? Now, for this week's The World Around, it's the mountains. It is so nice. I did really miss the mountains when we lived in Texas, and it's nice to see them in general, but it is particularly nice after a few weeks of seeing nothing but sort of yellow orange smudge in the sky to actually be able to see the mountains. I will say I have loved looking at the mountains here in Nevada because unlike other places I've lived, California, Oregon, Massachusetts, they're not covered in trees, and so you can properly see sort of what's going on in the mountains and the rocks, all of that. Geology wasn't an approved topic at my school growing up, and so I never really learned, but I've watched a few things on TV and just enough to understand that I would like to know more, and it's a real thrill to look at rock formations and sort of understand what might have caused them. I'm really enjoying that. Now, if any of you do know of a good beginner's geology book, I would love to hear about it because that's something I would like to learn more about for sure. Next up, questions from viewers. I don't actually have any questions this time, so I thought I would pull two models to talk about. The first one is sort of fall and harvest themed. This one's called Harvest Hymn. Here we go. Let's see if we can get you a good look. I wanted to use something like wheat-inspired flowers on the border. I was living in Texas when I started, so we've got these cows with very long horns and enormous Texas-sized vegetables. The saying on it comes from an old harvest hymn, which I thought was particularly appropriate, and yeah, that was a lot of fun to do. I got to stitch this one myself, so I really enjoyed it. And yeah, other people have stitched it too. I'd love to see someone else's finish, see if they change things, see how that looks. But that's the first one, Harvest Hymn. The other one I wanted to talk about this week because it's seasonal is a Greyhound ear. Many people have already seen this. Many people have already stitched this. Let's see. Let me get further up. But particularly the bottom row in this season, I had a lot of fun with September and a Greyhound going back to school. I had little books with, you know, couches and cookies and important Greyhound things. And a Greyhound and a first of my costumed animals and the dinosaur costume here. And a little spider, which has all 8 legs. Amy, I made sure I got those all on there. And then we've got a Thanksgiving Greyhound and a Christmas Greyhound. But this one was a lot of fun for me. Obviously, I have Greyhounds. We've got little rabbits and squirrels in the middle things. It was great. I really enjoyed doing this one. And I've heard from a lot of people who have stitched it and customized the Greyhounds to reflect their own pets, which I really enjoy seeing as well. So those are the two things. As always, if you have anything you'd like me to answer or talk about for the next Flosstube, just let me know. Leave it in the comments, and I will be thrilled to answer your questions in 2 weeks. Best thing this week. 2 things, all about Rye. First, she has had all her shots, so she can go for walks, which is wonderful. It's wonderful for us to get her out of the house. It's wonderful to see her looking at the world, and just, boy, she really likes to look. Something new, and everything's new right now. She just wants to stand still and stare at it for 30 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever it takes. If it's geese or a new person or rabbits, she's quite intrigued by rabbits. But it's been delightful to take her around the neighborhood and get out a little bit in the evenings and get to see what's going on through her eyes a bit. The other new thing about Rye is that she has finally finished spitting out, which is terrifying, all of her puppy teeth, and she has big, beautiful dog teeth. No more tiny razor needles. So we're all enjoying the fact that she doesn't have the sharpest teeth in the universe right now. So, speaking of Rye, that's the wrap-up. There will be puppy video at the end, so if you want to stay and watch a dog cavorting around, or mostly sleeping, since she is a Greyhound, even if she's a puppy, that's at the end here. It's been lovely to be with you all. I've missed you. I've missed the interaction, even though I know it's sort of at one remove, but it's delightful to be back, and I hope you're having a lovely fall. I will see you again in 2 weeks. Thank you.